Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So, we're coming back to Swordsoul Tenyi for this season, and as I've mentioned in videos a couple of times before, Swordsoul for me is one of those decks that I really like playing, but I just don't get as much time to play it as I would like to. Therefore, I'm not necessarily the most experienced player in the world. So, as I've done with some other decks in the past, I figured it would be fun to have on an expert. So I reached out to FoxxieLaLune, who is joining us today to talk about Swordsoul. Welcome on,
Hi,
Foxxie.
everyone. Hi, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Awesome, I'm good. Swordsoul Sovereigness herself, FoxxieLaLune, that's me.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun getting into Swordsoul this season. And I know a lot of people who watch, like, I've had a lot of people ask me in the past, like, what's a good meta deck to get into? And I liked recommending Swordsoul, because I feel like it's got a good point of entry and is still, like, a pretty high skill ceiling. So, what are your thoughts?
It is an amazing deck to learn on. Absolutely, 100%. It's, I learned with Madolche, but, like, Swordsoul was when I started competing in Master Duel and in TCG seriously, and it's just so great. The ceiling's so high, and you can learn so much, and I still learn new stuff, like, every day with it.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So what do you think about Swordsoul in this particular Master Duel meta? As, like, now that we've had Kashtira in for a bit, and we're kind of seeing it settle down a little bit, yeah, what do you feel about Swordsoul right now?
So I liked it in the last meta a lot better, but it is still near its peak in its power, and it's going to start fading as time goes on, but, like, for now, you can still get a lot of value on it. You can still Master 1, you can do well in the Duelist Cup with it. There's a lot going on that it can deal with. Evil Longyuan's going to eat field spells and continuous spells all day. Monster negates are still really important. Blackout's still a broken card, so it's still going to have power for in the near future. It will start to flip as people add more like removal spells like Book of Eclipse and Book of Moons and stuff like that Evil Longyuan can't take care of, and Baronne and Chixiao really just doesn't cut it anymore for the combo decks. So it's kind of, I'd say it's probably past its peak in power, but it still can get the job done, and you can do amazing things with that.
Right on, hell yeah. So yeah, this is a card that actually you and I have already been talking quite a bit about today, the Sinister Sovereign. So this card I feel like is pretty well poised in this meta. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. This is a very field spell heavy meta. It's a very continuous spell heavy. Both Pearly and Kashtira use field and continuous spells, and Longyuan's going to eat them up, and by the time you get back to turn 3 if you're starting, they're going to be down 3,600 life, and you're going to have eaten up half their field.
Yeah, that burn definitely adds up too, especially with the, of course, the main deck Longyuan getting in with a little bit of damage in there as well.
One of my favorite things to say, banish deal 12.
Yep.
It's just the best feeling in the world when they play something. And a lot of people don't know you get both effects. You don't just have to pick one, because I've seen people like special summon something to bait it, special summon banish burn 12, and then play like Kashtira birth and just banish deal 12 again, and then they concede right away because they're like, oh, I didn't know I could do both, but it can. And the secret third effect, that extra draw 1, is really powerful.
Yeah, that's like a little hyper librarian effect going on there.
Yeah, you don't get it as much in Master Duel as the TCG, where Longyuan's at 3, but if you draw like a Worm, Longyuan, and Mo Ye, and you get that search draw, it feels really strong.
Yeah, I don't know why this card is still at 2. I don't know if this card ever needed to go to 2 in Master Duel, honestly. This is like one of the weirder semis.
It's one of those consistency hits that you really do feel, but it's probably not necessary. It might have been necessary when it first came out, but definitely not now.
Yeah, I agree. This card could easily go to 3. Yeah, so I'm showing off on screen right now my build here, which is pretty standard. I think one of the main things I'm doing that might be a little out of the ordinary is Thrust, although I think, Thrust is just generally a staple right now.
Thrust is just such a strong card, especially since it's like every phase. You can get it if they activate a monster effect anywhere, and you're getting a lot of draw phase maxes, so it's super strong.
Yeah, one thing I've said in past videos about whether I decide to put thrust in deck or not is one of the main deciding factors is like, do I have a good normal trap besides Imperm to set? And of course we have Blackout in this deck, and there are a lot of times where, you know, your search is like your Chixiao search obviously is going to be usually either a long one or the Emergence. So being able to sometimes grab Blackout too with thrust seems pretty good to me.
It's definitely a great way to get Blackout into the rotation. I personally don't run it. You know, I prefer the Pot of Desires myself, but you know, Tactics and Thrust are a really good combination, and then you can also set Blackout, so it's really strong.
Yeah. So I'm also going to throw on screen now, and I'll come over here to Discord so I can see your build as well, because we're not just going to be seeing games from me today, but we'll see a couple of Foxxie's duels as well. So I have on screen right now, in the finished video, of course, your deck list here. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to talk about your list a bit, feel free, go right ahead.
So it might seem a little bit off to some people, but just as a gimmick, I run 2 Maxxias. I swear to God, the Master Duel card shuffler likes to show you Maxxia a lot more when you only play 2. I don't know why.
Big shufflers watching.
But yeah, it's a cheat. I don't know. I get it. I draw it a lot. I don't know what to tell you.
That's good.
And then I just replace it out for a Veiler. Just, I don't know, a Crossout target, and a Veiler's always good to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Having a Veiler's never. I'm never mad if I have one of the tuner hand traps, because they're a tuner and they're a hand trap, and I'm playing a synchro deck.
Exactly. I was gonna say.
There's a little bit of that. I run the Sacred Summit. I like to have the flexibility of having a Monster Reborn. You'll see it in some replays today. Besides that, I'm main decking Kaijus for Pearly, so that's about it for anything that's kind of different from what you would normally see.
Right on, yeah.
I like to run 42. I like to run a little bit above 40 just for luck.
Well, and also
I'm a very lucky dueler. I like to go for luck.
Well, and also for Desires, it's definitely not bad to go a little over 40.
It is, and 2 Desires. You never want to Desires into Desires, so 2 Desires is probably the correct number to have. I think you're not running Sathana, right?
I'm not, which you talked about, and I did forget about it, and I would I think play it if I had it in mind, obviously.
Yeah, I would just play it, run 41, and play Sathana for your dodges, for your imperm dodging, and you should be good to go.
Right on. And yeah, it's funny you make that comment about Desires, because I'm pretty sure I was playing Swordsoul with 3. The one time in Master Duel, I have in fact activated Desires and drawn 2 copies of it. So
you don't want Desires in, and Desires doesn't feel good. And it still happens when you're running it at 2, because the Master Duel Shuffler likes to give you things that are at 2 copies, I swear to God.
Oh,
but,
the other thing that's different between our builds that we're talking about is in our extra deck, you have the Dragite, I have the Chaofeng, and I'm definitely, I think, going to be dropping this for the Dragite, because we were talking about how this just never comes up anymore.
Yeah, you can beat Nibiru with it, but you have to kind of dedicate yourself to beating the Nibiru with that. And if you're going turn 1, I don't know, making up Baxia just so you can beat Nibiru when you could just not fear Nibiru, and sometimes you lose to it, sometimes you don't. Maybe you have Crossout, maybe you don't. I mean, I understand how it wins, but if your board is Chaofeng and like Baronne, you're probably going to get beat anyway.
Right. Well, and the other thing too, and we were actually again talking about this before the video started, is like, and this is something I've always said, is like, if you're playing in like Ranked Ladder and Master Duel, like you'll just get nibbed sometimes, and like that's fine. Like, you know, you'll still make it to Master as long as you have a good win rate. So
yeah, if you get nibbed, you know, 1 time out of every like 12 games, it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Yeah, so those are our builds rather. And
the Dragite is it's having a trap negate. Sometimes it comes up really good in like a really grindy labyrinth match, which most of the time you're probably gonna lose if you're getting into a grindy match, but that can kind of pull you out if they're stuck on like 1 trap.
That's true.
Drag you back up.
Yeah,
so I think that's probably the most times I'd use that. But sometimes you just have an extra summon. Sometimes like you get the Heavenly Dragon Circle, and you get like the Sacred Summit, and you can do a reborn, and you can get a 3rd synchro out, and it's a real good choice.
And every now and then, I feel like I've done this once in Swordsoul. You make the Dragite, and then you Hail Mary, look for the nib, and find it for the balance.
Sure. that can happen.
But yeah, no, having access to spell trap negate in the extra deck in this meta in particular, like you said, for those grindy lab matchups, I do think is very important. So that seems like a pretty easy call for the extra deck for me. I'm just dropping the Chaofeng, putting in the Dragite seems very good.
Or you can run 2 monk, but I think we talked about this earlier too. That like having 3 monk as I always liked having. I know a lot of people run 2, but like I use that 3rd monk all the time.
It's, you know, I feel like a lot of people who play 3 monk have had this moment. Like, I played 2 monk for a long time, and then you have that game where you would win if you had the 3rd, and you, like, plus the extra deck is, like, it's not, like, you know, 100% wide open, but I feel like the flex spot is, like, again, if it's Chaofeng versus the 3rd monk of the Tenyi, the 3rd monk of the Tenyi has absolutely come up way more often.
It's important. Sometimes you can go through 2 monks on your first turn.
I was going to say, yeah, because a lot of people will be like, oh, it's only for grind games, but again, yeah, no, you will not often, but sometimes you will make 2 on turn 1, like you said, yeah, and then you need that 3rd one later.
Sometimes you can end up having like enough, if you have enough gas on your 2 and get 2 monks out with Tenyis, and you can still put up your full board. If you like pitch a Taia but don't have the Monster Reborn, the last thing you can do is ditch like a card that you don't need or a Tenyi or something, and bring back the Taia and make a 3rd synchro.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, yeah, so that, I think, covers the builds here. Like I said, we're going to be watching games from both of us today, actually. We're going to start with a couple of mine and then a couple of yours, and I think both of us have games from Duelist Cup, so...
Absolutely, yeah, mine are from the Duelist Cup. I did them today. I went on, like, a crazy win streak in Duelist Cup, but, like, I'm not too high right now. I kind of slid a little bit. I'm, like, about 1,000th, but, I went on like an 8 or 9 game win streak in it, and I was feeling really good about Swordsoul right then. I was no dejection or anything.
Right on. Yeah, we'll definitely let's go ahead and get into those games here. All right, so we're gonna start with my first Duelist Cup game here. Normally, I like to say at the top of the replay what deck I'm playing against, but I don't actually know for this one, and we're gonna see why.
Sometimes you just take full control.
Exactly.
Oh, so see, you opened like a little bit of a funky hand.
A little bit, yeah.
It looks like you can get there. You got the protection from Maxx though, so you're set.
Exactly. So yeah, even though we opened Ashuna and Heavenly Dragon Circle, we definitely still have plays here. And Heavenly Dragon Circle, while very good for dodging often with Shathana, is useful for more than just that, as we're going to see here.
It's one of the few extenders in your game that you like are going to get a lot of use out. I'm never mad if I see Dragon Circle. Definitely.
No, I love seeing this card in the opening hand. Here, the Ash Blossom would have absolutely devastated us, but thankfully we have the call by.
You have your hand traps there, so you're like okay if you get screwed, because like sometimes you get screwed and when you're playing Swordsoul, and you just have to kind of hope your hand traps will save the day.
So here,
but you have a full combo now.
Exactly.
You have the Adhara.
Added the Ashuna back.
Yep. You're worm locked, but like that's no biggie.
Not at all. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I am worm locked because earlier I was talking about what we're gonna see here in a moment. I make the evil Longyuan instead of the Brome, but I forgot I couldn't have even made the Brome because I was worm locked.
Yeah, always remember your worm lock. If you activate your Ashuna before you special summon like your Ecclesia, you're gonna have a bad time. It's not gonna be a good day.
Right. Also, casually drawing the Emergence off Mo Ye.
Casually drawing, that's a good one. That's a good draw. Definitely something you want to see. A hand trap or Emergence is always nice.
So here we definitely get to Emergence for the Protos, which of course we'll subsequently summon. So here, I actually thought about this for a little while when I was playing the actual game, of whether I wanted to call Earth or Dark. And because I had the Monk up, I decided to experiment a little bit and see calling Earth. My thought process going into it was mainly... of course, the Kashtira Fenrir in the room, because it's in a lot more than just Cash, it's in a lot of decks in general. And I was thinking about other, like, fringe applications. I was like, okay, if it's Pearly, like, yes, obviously Dark would be better, but, like, at least I can stop Plump. So this is one of the main things I wanted to kind of pick your brain about. What do you think here about calling Earth versus Dark in this meta?
Well, so Earth is good. You will see Kashtira. I think Dark is always the safer bet, just because you don't know what you're gonna see. And also, when you call Earth, now if you shut them out, you're fine. But if it gets in kind of a grindy game, sometimes having that Monk still out and having your Tenyis still be online, because you have Heavenly Dragon Circle in the grave, and you have an Ashuna in the grave. So like if you can protect it, if you can keep them off of killing it, then you're going to be in a lot better shape on your follow-up. Especially if you're looking right now, you have 0 follow-up.
Yes.
So whatever you can do to protect that is, I mean, you have Maxx, so you'll probably draw into it, or, you know, if it gets that far. But, yeah, I don't know. Earth is strong, though. Like, it's definitely a good option. You don't really know. It's like, you kind of have to pick your poison on that one.
Yeah.
If they started doing like dark stuff, you would be upset. If they started doing earth stuff and you called dark stuff, you'd be upset. So like it's just like a judgment call at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in hindsight, dark would have been the better call. It like, you know, like the Fenrir, yeah, like yes, it's in cash, and yeah, it's in more than just cash, but at the same time, like, you know, even if it is Kashtira, does calling Earth against Fenrir even necessarily stop them from plays? As you said, Dark tends to be safer. There's still a good amount
Dark
of
shuts them off of a Rise Heart, so.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They do
yeah,
have a Dark monster.
So like you get because a Rise Heart's all they're really gonna be doing. I mean, honestly, I don't know. They'll make what's Big Eye? Is Big Eye a Dark? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think it is a Dark.
Let me see. Let me look real quick.
I don't remember off the top of my head, actually. That's funny. It might be light. It's either light or dark, I'm pretty sure. I think it's dark.
Let's see.
But yeah, here I'm just going to ultimately...
yeah, Big Eye is dark. So
it is
keeping
dark.
them off Big Eye is probably pretty important because you can steal the evil Longwan, and that's bad because Swordsoul special summons so much, and losing your evil Longwan that way is not good.
That's true, that's true. So here, yeah, I fired off the Maxi in the draw phase, and they just set 2 pass. So, like, this is one of those games where, like, I don't know, like, maybe calling Earth actually mattered here. Maybe it was just the Maxi. Maybe they just couldn't play with, you know, through the Chixiao. And, because like you said, you know, the QIXING Longyuan is actually, like, very, very good. It shuts down a lot of continuous and field spells in this meta,
well,
so...
This is actually a great board to, like, display. One of the strongest Swordsoul boards with one of the biggest glaring weaknesses of Swordsoul as a deck is that you have no protection from back row, no protection from any of that kind of removal. You're open to every kind of kaiju, lava golem on the planet.
Yes, yeah.
And you don't have that Omni with Baronne. But that Omni with Baronne's not enough for a combo deck. So you still want to go with the Sinister Sovereign. And you kind of got to play your chances, and as those things like Eclipse get further into the meta, Swordsoul will become harder and harder to play, but it's still really strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
so, yeah,
that is an intimidating board if you're the opponent.
It is.
At. Like that's very intimidating.
The funny thing is I think one of the ways that people will kind of dog on Swordsoul a little bit is like, oh, you're just gonna make an 8 and a 10, but like that's still good. Like that's still good in this meta.
Yeah, there are strong 8s and 10s, and especially with the amount of field spells and continuous for Evil Longwan to eat up, and special summons. A lot of special summons. You gotta pick the right one to banish. I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing Cash, do you banish the Fenrir? Do you banish the Unicorn?
Yes.
Do you banish the Rise Heart?
Yeah, here, unfortunately, I don't have to make too many difficult decisions because after turning this Protos to attack mode, my opponent concedes. So, yeah, I don't...
You have the lethal there, so...
Yeah. And yeah, I figured, I have lethal. There's no reason to play into a back row. I'll just flip this to attack mode and just, threaten to battle.
Maybe Earth was the right choice there, though, because it shut they didn't do anything.
Yeah, it could have been it might have been Maxi, who knows, right? But,
could have been. And you had the Nibiru as, like, your ripcord. It's
exactly.
Like, if everything goes wrong, at least I have Nibiru.
But I did think you made a good point, not only about calling dark, but also about the fact that with this board, like with this setup, I don't have a lot of extensions. So in some ways, I am kind of relying on either the Maxi getting a lot of draws or my opponent not being able to break the board. Fortunately, it was the latter, but I thought that was a very good point you made about this game state as well. But,
absolutely. There's some, but even keeping the monk and like hoping that it's 6 round for next, it's only 1,000 attacks. They're probably going to beat over it, and it's almost like in a win more situation if that's all they can do. But maybe they'll keep that as the lowest priority, and they'll clear all your other stuff, and you'll have just a monk left, and they'll think they're good, but you have all your Tenyi gas in the grave, so you can do whatever you want next turn.
Right. And those are another good
you never
point.
know. You never know a decision making of the opponent. You never know.
Well, and that was another good point I hadn't considered mid-game, was keeping the monk on the board, because even though it only has 1,000 attack, like, your opponent's going to prioritize the removal and, like, bigger attacks on, your disruption, like the synchros and stuff. So there are a lot of times where monk kind of, like, gets away unscathed.
Under the radar, yeah, it flies under the radar, and then it goes to the next turn. You're like, I have a full hand in my graveyard right now, so I hope you are prepared for it.
Definitely, yeah. No, there's a cool thing about Swordsoul, like. It seems like a very simple deck. That's another thing I've seen people say before is like, oh, Swordsoul, all they do is summon Mo Ye. But it's such a high skill ceiling, and there's so many decision points that, yeah, it's funny how you can make arguments like either way for even very simple decisions.
A lot of times, the bread and butter is enough. Mm-hmm. As the power creep goes up, the bread and butter doesn't become enough anymore, and you got to start thinking outside of the box, which is probably why like Go Second Swordsoul is more popular now than it used to be.
Right.
It's like people are thinking of Baronne and Chixiao is not enough anymore for sure. So come up with new ideas. Evil Longyuan eats. He's banished till 12. It's super strong, I swear.
Right on. Let's go and take a look at the next duel here. Okay, so this is my other game here. This one, I do remember, is against Kashtira. We're going to go ahead and...
Let's see what you got here. Let's see this one.
Alright, so we do get to go first, which is exciting, but with this hand, unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do aside from just making a 10, right? Because all we have is the
and sometimes that happens. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, like, that's one of those things. But here, I definitely would make the Evil Longyuan.
And Evil
Longyuan versus the world.
Yeah, I end up making the Baronne, because I just kind of like, again, I don't play this deck super extensively, so it's really easy for me to default brain, like, oh, I can 10 Baronne, right?
Well, when we're in this situation, I mean, I just try to get as many, like, your hand's kind of blown. You have no follow-up, you're kind of sweet. The Baxia has to go off for you to even have a chance when it's your turn.
And we can already see that, like,
Well, you got that called by, so you're gonna make it. But
True.
Three interactions is more than 2 interactions, so I'm gonna go with the most amount of interactions that I can in the situation to get me through to at least survive to the next turn. I mean, that can bite you, but that's always my decision-making point. If everything's already blown, let's put our faith in Evil Longyuan.
Yeah, and one thing you pointed out that is that, it's not like one or the other between these banish effects. You do get to banish both a special summoned monster as well as a spell or a trap card.
Yeah, it's 2 pieces of removal in 1 card, which is still to this day strong.
Exactly. It's funny, whenever I see people go for this card in general, in Swordsoul, whenever this gets summoned, my first thought is always like, shit, they know what they're doing with this deck. So, maybe kind of telling that I summoned the Baronne here, but...
People used to think of it back when, like, the power levels were a little bit lower, like, maybe, like, pre-tier format, like, that was the greedy play, is you were just trying to get the extra draw, that's why you would have it, but, like... No, a lot of things use field and continuous spells now. It's important to have those pieces of removal.
Yeah, definitely. No, and again, to your point, it's multiple pieces, not just even the Baronne only represents 1 negate.
2 for 1.
Now here they did have Imperm, so I don't think it super duper mattered, but I think that
you would have just burnt 12. That's it. You would have burnt an extra 12.
But it still would have been correct to make the Longyuan here. I think I agree with that for sure. So here they have a unicorn. I'm just going to imperm it. Oh, that's right. It's Punk Cash. I forgot that last time, too.
Baronne Wars.
Baronne Wars. Again, though, not much of a war. Mine's just going to die here. But
and the two Ashunas, that's kind of sad. That's sad to see.
Yeah, it's like, I did get a couple of draws. They are both Ashunas. Maybe I can top something relevant. Nope.
One Ashuna is a 1-for-1 with Baronne, though. So you do make it. You burn its negate, so...
True.
You get to live to fight another turn.
Exactly. Just kind of have to hope they don't have too much follow-up with the rest of their hand there. But yeah, I'm just gonna go for the Vishuda here. Link it off for a second monk, like we were talking about, making 2 monks in 1 turn. Vishuda threatening to bounce. Obviously, they chain. But here, like, I feel like the only thing I can really do is Shaman and then bring back Monk, which is what I end up doing. I think, right?
Yeah, you definitely get the removal. You need to be able to get rid of the Baronne, because the Baronne's just going to pop stuff next turn. And there's not really anything else you can really do.
Yeah, it's not like I have like a Taia in here or something.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to make the Vishuda to deal with the Baronne, so.
Yeah.
But perfect decision making for what you had, absolutely.
Yeah, that's another kind of hidden effect I've noticed a lot, like some people don't know about, is that Shaman can turn your Monk into Catastrophe or anything.
Absolutely.
Actually pulls up any card, not even just a monster, too.
Yeah, you can target any card.
Yeah, here they did have the Fenrir for follow-up. They added a unicorn, I think, before they moved to battle. So it's like, unfortunately, unless I can rip like a Taia, and unfortunately,
oh, you get the Mo Ye. You're almost. That's like one off.
Right?
Normal summon Taia. My girl, my boy, and Taia.
Here I should have said the Mo Ye.
My boy and Taia fly in.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's over at that point because they can. Well, it's face. Okay, so they can't banish it because it's not face up. It would have helped you, but they're gonna go full combo.
Yeah, I kind of felt like they probably just had it. It might have been a little greedy. I think the reason I held Mo Ye was I was like, okay, if I live in the world where they don't like have anything else,
if they're bricked up and they can't get their cash out, and you get another turn and you draw a worm, you can play. Especially if you draw like a 7. Mm-hmm. If you draw a 7 and you normal your Mo Ye effect goes off and they banish it with Fenrir, and then you special summon your 7 and then you make Psychic Punisher and you probably win.
But alas, they had the Royal Zayamine too at that, so
that's a cool deck. I like that deck a lot.
It is. I like it a lot too. But yeah, now we got a couple of games from you that we're gonna see. So
absolutely, let's check them out.
Let's do it.
So this is kind of a grind fest for the Duelist Cup. It's me and I go. Yours were both going first. Mine are both going second, but I'm not a blind second. But they just happen to be really good matchups.
Right on.
So you'll see here that we are going up against what I think is Kashtira probably the start, but I open no interaction, so we'll see what happens. And so it looks like we're going into Scareclaw. And I have no interruption, which can make kind of a scary board, but I have all the gas in the world. So we'll see what they put up.
They have advisors.
I don't really ever see Scareclaw go full combo. So it's kind of neat to see them how much they can pop off. There's some cards I hadn't even read before until this fight.
Yeah, this is a really cool deck, and it's definitely like on my list of like decks I'm looking to maybe get into when I've got some more time. But it's been more popular in general lately. I think the Kashtira archetype, there's stuff coming out was a huge boost to this deck.
The Kashtira support for it, and like Scareclaw Kashtira is a really strong card.
Definitely. And they did also, I was going to say too, they also got new cards. They have
they got the Twin Saw, which is basically, it's Blackout for Scareclaws. So like, it's two of the same kind of deal going against each other. And they have similar, I know that it's a Link deck, but they kind of feel a lot like Swordsoul and how they function.
They do, don't they? Yeah. I can see it for sure.
It's a lot of bringing back and link climbing and then putting stuff together and then making strong stuff, but it's got the Floodgate instead of, Evil Longwan.
Right. And then, they also have the D-Fang, which turns it into Avermax, basically, too.
I haven't read that card. I didn't even know that was a card. Like, I had no idea. I'd never seen that before. And so I've had to figure out. So we got to get rid of that first. So we start with our special summon. And so we bait out the Fenrir. So we have the Heavenly Dragon Circle to dodge the Fenrir. And you can figure, they usually like to start with that instead of some of their other stuff, because it's obvious and it's known. Mm-hmm. So I grab my piece of removal to deal with the Link 3. Yep. But I can't deal with it yet because it can't be targeted. So I don't use Taia. And then I have the Monster Reborn, so...
Oh, that's right. You did not activate Taia. That's very important.
I did not activate Taia. So we'll make our Baronne here going second is really strong because, you get the pop and then a gate. Mm-hmm. It's definitely still a good card. You don't always make Evil Longwan. Sometimes you need Baronne. So now I can target it.
Yep.
We can bring back our Taia. We can get a non-effect monster because I haven't used its effect yet. And then we can bounce.
Oh, and
it doesn't do anything, but he activated that. I was like, was there a trick? I don't know. We're fine. And then here I just decided to go for removal. Mm-hmm. And, I'm basically putting all my hopes in the Nibiru if they can combo off. So we'll just clear that up. I'll put some Tenyis in the grave and we'll see what happens. And I've got Baronne and a prayer,
Exactly.
And we can pull the nib, but it's kind of like yours. Like, I got my last prayer here. We can get into a top deck war, but I cleared the board. Made a little error there. I could have gotten more damage.
Yeah, it's like 600.
Yeah, that's okay though.
Yeah,
I have that because I can trade it out for higher defense if I need to.
Yeah, because this is either player's main phase, I believe, right? Yes. Yep,
Yeah, and if they want to try to like target destroy it, I can dodge it and get a card. You know, I don't know. I just felt like it was fine.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
So they tactics cake. Tactics is so strong. You know.
Oh, and they
what
have
am I gonna
field
do?
spell. That's right.
Yeah, what am I gonna do? Yeah, they have the field spell in hand, so they are gonna go like as off as they can, and they do.
Oh, they're gaming.
And they're like, okay, and they see the OTK in their head here, so they're like, I'm just gonna let them do their lion because I know they don't put up a negate.
Yep.
So we'll just let them get there, and they get there, and we get into top deck wars.
Yeah, here comes the nib.
Yeah, the rock, and just no cards in hand for either of us. About the same strength rock. I didn't know it was going to be 3,000 because I always forget the bonuses of defense.
Oh yeah, no,
spell.
it's like
I forget everything. I forget everything about that field spell except for the search. So we top decked through the desires, but we banished all our Taias, so we can't do anything.
Right, we did. Yep.
Yeah, we have no Taias. We have one engraved and we have one banished somewhere. And so I made another error. I put those in defense, so now they can pop one. They pop the imperm.
The secret effect.
The secret effect. Every time is the secret effect. So I get out like the skin of my teeth. I'm still in it, and I know I can't draw into a Taia now, so I'm a little scared. I'm like, I think I'm gonna lose, but maybe we'll be okay. A called by will keep me alive if they try to do something that they already have in the grave, though. So like,
they have a lot in
here.
I'm
still in it. Yeah, there's a lot of options. So I'm still in it, and they're probably out of gas too. So. They were, you know, we're both at the end of our thing. Ooh. Protos, baby, yeah. Protos ends the fight.
So yeah, although a lot of their stuff is Earth, a lot of their important stuff is Dark. The Tri-Heart,
the strong monsters are Dark.
Yep, and then the
Protos call Dark. So yeah, they're in set one. They're struggling, and then I get a Tenyi and I can just go.
That's all you need. Yep, that's
all
you need.
I can just play Yu-Gi-Oh.
So satisfying to be at the end of a top
really,
deck war.
It really is. And the second hand in the graveyard just comes into effect. They're going to ash that, but I already have an Ashuna in there, so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't even matter. We even had the call by and didn't even need it. That's so good. I always think it's funny, too, how we call... I think it's funny how we call them hidden effects when it's just like not the first sentence on the card.
It's the effect. It's what it does.
It's good.
But look, you only remember what comes up most often.
Exactly. That was an awesome duel. That was a great turnaround there.
So I like a lot of replays that showcase like board breaking. Even as a first turn Swordsoul player, I like to set up a board that will make me survive so that on turn 3 I can break and win.
Hell yeah.
That's the general. I mean, and that's all everybody's going first plan, but like you really can do it really well with Swordsoul. You just that first turn you're setting up the obstacles while you add follow up, and then you just do it all again and win.
Exactly, yeah, and it's like, you know, it's such a, like, again, there are a lot of decks that have to go jump through a lot of hurdles to like set up the disrupts and have a follow up, but Swordsoul just does it so efficiently. I think that's one of the reasons it's like stayed so relevant. Like, even though it doesn't get, you know, you see all these other decks getting additional waves of support, and Swordsoul doesn't, and it's still like been on the tier. Like, I would say Swordsoul has not been lower than tier 2 like since it released in Master Duel. Honestly.
You can always win with that.
Exactly.
There's never a time where you can't win, and it's just completely useless. Like, now tier is completely useless because it was too strong, so it got banned into oblivion. So Swordsoul's not too strong; it'll never get banned into oblivion.
We just need that Longyan to come back.
The slow death of power creep will eventually come for it, but there's still time. Enjoy your Swordsoul. If you're new, learn to play on Swordsoul. Get your synchros out. Normal summon your Mo Ye. My girl in Mo Ye drowning. You know, have your fun. Learn the basics. Learn your Chixiao Baronne path. Learn your Chixiao Evil Longyuan pass, and then as you play and come up into situations, you'll get like, I can do this, I can do that, and it'll be real exciting. You'll learn new stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think is really cool about this deck is that, like, again, it's it's got a very approachable combo lines. Like it's not like the most simple deck, but you know, for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, for a modern 2023 meta relevant Yu-Gi-Oh deck, it is a lot easier to learn than others. But again, it's got that high skill ceiling, and the more you play with it, I really like decks like this that reward you for playing it more, by allowing you to like have a noticeable increase in your skill ceiling and also have that reflect in the deck.
And the worm toolbox in general, like there's cards that neither of us have in our decks that other people put in their decks.
Yes,
that,
very true.
You know, there's so many options in the worm tool. So, you know, some people run multiple Protoss because they think it's that important, and some people don't run any because they don't use it or they're used to the TCJ.
Yep, or like the other level 4 Tenyis, like the Mapura. I know I see some people on that. Yeah, cool stuff.
It's neat. It's my favorite deck. It made me fall in love with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hell yeah. We have one more game to see from you. Should we hop into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So, yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about this last game we're going to see here?
Yeah, absolutely. This is another going second game. This is against Pearly.
Ooh, right on.
It shows kind of how to disassemble a board that can't be targeted. So, you know, I do open the kaiju, which, you know, that's what it's there for. That's why I have it.
To be fair, though, your opponent also...
no interruptions, no hand trap. Both my games had no hand traps, so, like, if you have enough gas, you can do anything with Swordsoul. You don't have to hand trap them to oblivion. It's nice to hand trap them to oblivion. Trust me, Imperm, Valor, Blossom, Mo Ye, and a Worm is the best hand you'll ever see going second. Like, you can still get the job done if they can full combo. It's totally possible.
Exactly. Also, you know, you may have opened the kaiju, but they also had the field spell here, which I feel like is like equally insane.
It would have shut off all my hand traps.
Exactly. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Maybe it's better that I opened gas instead of hand traps.
Well, yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that, because I think that happened in the last game we just watched. You opened no disruption but all gas, and
that's the most fun way to play Swordsoul. I mean, like, obviously you'll win more with your hand traps, but the most fun is figuring out the combo lines when you have all the gas in the world.
Exactly. And I think, too, that it really speaks to... Because I think there are actually a fair number of people who, like, especially in, like, a Duelist Cup situation, would see them not open, like, any hand traps going second and immediately concede. But I think it's worth playing through it.
So we definitely get to... I mean, you can imagine what that trap card is there. So they're going to draw tail.
I wonder.
Yeah, it could be anything. They're going to get another material. They're going to flip up the leap. And...
They draw
yeah, we
got
the biggest towers that can spin 4 times. So... three spins, sorry.
Oh, right, because it has 7.
But they drew 4. So
yep.
At this point, it's like, it's OTK or bust. So
for sure,
we'll get rid of them. They're going to draw a billion cards. Their Pearly can't be targeted that they're about to summon. So yeah. I have to win. I can't.
We're just going for it.
This is almost like taking the Maxi challenge. Like, the only difference is, like, they're not going to keep getting cards, but that's too many cards. I have to win right now, and that Pearly can't be targeted. So I can't screw up the damage, and everything's got to go. So we'll do a little synchro token play here. We'll get everything in line, and we'll just start Baxia everything away.
Hell yeah, that sounds good to me.
I did that because I knew they didn't have an Ash, because I did, you know, if they were holding it for that, there's the best Yu-Gi-Oh player in the world. But
right.
So we got our first Baxia here.
Also, we did not use Taia again.
We have not used Taia. No, save that Taia use. You're going to need that. So Baxia takes out the field spell, one of the Pearlies. We can bring back the Taia. We can make the second Baxia.
Yeah, so this is just me not reading cards, is what this is. But I didn't know, one, that this is bringing something back is a soft once per turn.
Once per turn, and the bounce is no. It's as many times as you can.
Not at all.
As many times as you can.
That's wild.
As many as you can get out. Play 3 if you want.
That's why. Yeah, I never knew that.
And it's any level 4. So we do the set 1, bring 1 back, and we can bring back another tuner, and I had full combo and the gas to win the game.
Oh, yeah, because we still the long... Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, you can just keep going. You can make 3 synchros before you get into the long one, and I can search anything because I already have the long one. So luckily, half of the stuff I did before that was just the Ash bait, so that I could pull this off, because I needed to get through an Ash, and they drew 4. So,
right,
you know, they didn't have it, so I got to do whatever I wanted, but they would have ashed the Emergence or, you know, the Circle or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that makes sense way to do all that. Yeah, like you said, to just really make sure they didn't have the Ash Blossom.
Yeah, they drew 4 in the standby phase, so that deck's broken. I wish I could draw 4 in the standby phase.
Yeah, it would definitely help Swordsoul.
And then they got all their quick plays back. So if I didn't kill him, it would have been over.
Yeah,
it's a strong deck. It's really good. If you're looking for like something new that and meta, like hit up Pearly. It's a fun, strong deck.
Oh yeah, well, and yeah, like you said too, you're pretty much shaking the Maxi challenge at that point, because not only did they get 4 like cards that could be disruption, but they definitely have gas, because we know they get the quick play spells back.
Yeah, so. They're going to do great. Their turn 3 is going to be amazing. It's just don't let them have one.
But I think also
you've all, I'm sure, experienced it if you're playing this game, where they get the towers, you kaiju over the towers, and like you miss by like 500 damage, and then you're just like, I can't. Now they're gonna do whatever they wanted, and they're gonna make a second Noir or a big Zeus or whatever, and it's over.
Yeah, and I think much like playing through a Maxi challenge in that kind of scenario, it's like, you know, it's definitely worth playing smartly around stuff like Ash Blossom, like you did for sure. But when it comes to stuff like Nibiru, it's again, they either have it or they don't. Like at this point,
yeah, you've got your one Crossout Designator to protect you from Nibiru. Or it looks like if you wanted to do that Chaofeng line there, I wouldn't have cleared the board. So
yeah,
and I'd already done like 1,000 summons. So if they wanted to, they could. But if they saw it coming, they could do it first. But one thing when playing Pearly, you really have to keep track of is that gain 1,000 life. Because everybody, if you know, Swordsoul, you're looking for 6,800. Now it's 7,800, and that's a lot harder. So
that's true. Yeah,
keep that in mind. You know, if they gain 1,000, there have been a couple times where I've had to surrender because I'm like, all right, I made 6,800. They got all their cards back, but I'm gonna win. And I looked at their life points, and I said 7,800, and I'm just like, oh, concede. It's over. I made a mistake. I didn't calculate for that.
It's really easy to overlook.
Keep a mind of that. Yeah, it's super easy because it's just a little thing that happens. You know, a little bit of life gain while they're doing their combo. So pay attention.
Definitely. Well, yeah, that's all the games that we've got for today. So, Foxxie, thank you so much for coming on. And
absolutely, I hope you guys can be Swordsoul duelists too.
Hell yeah! And where can people find you?
They can find me at FoxxieLaLune on Twitter. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me.
Right on, and that link is going to be in the description. I'll probably throw in a pinned comment as well, so people can find it easily.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you coming on, because again, these decks that I don't know as well, I really like to have somebody who really knows their stuff. And yeah,
everyone always says Swordsoul, it's a fair deck, but Swordsoul, it's a fun deck.
It is definitely. And now that we have the secret pack, I mean, we got that a while ago, but it's nice that we can actually like build it without having to craft everything too.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it's cheap at the same time because it has its own pack.
For sure.
The Yang Zings are good to get too in that pack.
Oh, that's right. They are in that pack, definitely.
They are, yeah. Denlong's legal. You can play when the super heavy samurai stuff comes out. Play with Denlong and go ham.
Yeah, so that's true. Even if you open the pack now for Swordsoul and you're a little concerned about it getting like power crabs later, it does still have like buying into that pack does still have a lot of advantages too for the future.
There are some fun, nifty things that you can do in the future to keep Swordsoul kind of like in the cusp of being as strong as it can be. A couple of things that you can't do on Master Duel, though, like they came out with Duality, but Dragoon is banned, so you can't do an Iris Dragoon play.
Right.
But you know, which kind of makes it not as fun. But you know, there's other stuff. The Super Heavy Samurai engine is really good with Denlong, so there'll be some future fun to have with Swordsoul. It's not a dead deck for sure by a long shot.
Yeah, and I think, I'd love to have you on again when we try out some Swordsoul builds in the future as well.
Oh, yeah, when it updates, I'd love to come back and we can have some fun. Maybe on, like, a live stream.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure. But,
awesome.
Yeah, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thank you once again so much for coming on. Yeah, let's just go ahead and move now to the outro.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching it all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.